He's the right guard. Schweitzer hit allowed, benched. Stance high, slight overset punch. Okay. Yeah. So you just have you have the right guard, right tackle, and a gap protection where he's gonna slide to the right, shuffle to the right. He does that. Again, a little bit of an overset here, in terms of just getting a little bit too lateral. And then in terms of his hand carriage is good, like they're on guard until he gets to that contact window where you're about, like 2 yards away, 2-ish yards away, where, arms can reach out and actually contact. That's what I refer to as a contact window. He gets into that contact window, his hands separate, and he goes to punch, but hands are wide, hands are high, lands into the chest. You have 91 who long arms him and is able to just push him back and open up that hip, which allows him to clear himself and work his way to the quarterback. So not a good start. Not a good start by him. We could see he's even a little bit high in his stance, and then the punch. Again, when you're going to punch somebody and you're coming over the top and trying to basically slap down on their chest, there's just no force it's really going to generate. Let's have a hit first play. Okay, all right. Let's see if we rebound here. Schweitzer base wide, hands low, hit. Okay. So now he's the center. So I guess, yeah, it is. I guess he was benched after that play. So he came in, allowed a hit, and then got benched. So now we're looking at him at center. Here he's coming. Gets the ball out. Obviously, the location's not the best, so we want to watch that as a center and him not having the best location on his snaps. And then in terms of the actual block, it's not that he's in a bad position. It's look how, once he snaps the ball, his base gets way too overextended. Base is overextended. As he comes into contact, your feet are way too wide. You're just not balanced like that. And then we see some bend from the waist. So you have a wide base, you have bend from the waist, and your hands come from wide and low. Wide, low. Not a good combo. There's three critical factors there that even just one of them individually can completely destroy the play for him. But when you combine all three, that's when you have an immediate pressure to the quarterback after play action. Pass deflection. Why? Again, hands got to be more forceful with them. Base overextended, base wide. Hands are bad and wide. Bending from the waist. There's no power into that punch. Immediate pressure. Pass deflection. Okay. Schweitzer, scoop, feet wide, combo with one arm. All right. So the center again. Okay. So comes off the ball again. To me, the base is too wide. It's not just to me. The base is too wide. I don't love how the hand, like you see the left hand right there, how it really, really scoops from low. Now, if it does land, it gets you into a really good spot. Just in terms of having a tight elbow angle and being able to lift versus push. Again, lift is going to create actual movement. Push doesn't really create much. So comes off the ball, is the first contact on that combo block, is then going to work to the second level as square as he possibly can. Work into the second level. I guess they're not accounting for Gardner Johnson right here, and they're comboing to 257. But at a certain point, he's looking to 57, but 57 really never declares himself in the gap. He sees 23 Gardner Johnson fitting his way into the gap, so he peels off at the last second, contacts him with one hand, gets his full body lean onto him. He tries to dive through and make the tackle, but Schweitzer holds him up enough. So it's a decent combo block. Again, a little bit overextended, and I want to see a little bit more force. But I like the fact that his eyes are up. I like the fact that he's square to the second level as he's climbing. I like the fact that he's able to peel off last second to get his hand on whoever is going to fill the gap, which was Gardner Johnson when he expected to be the linebacker. Schweitzer, not dictate. Punch leg straight. All right, center. Not dictate. Yeah, so we have the drag hand to the left, just feeling if anything's there. get some depth. You do want to get some depth as a center when you're uncovered, because if there is penetration and things like that, you don't want to be on the same level and react, not react late. But if you're on the same level as the guard and there's a penetrator and you pick them up late or you're late to see it, being farther back gives you a little bit more time to react to things like that. So you want to be a little bit off level with those guys. So he does that. He does that there. He gets a little bit too low in this rep, but it's fine. The thing that we want to see here is, and I don't know at this point when you have this defender who is working to the inside, for him, there's really no reason to overlap right there. Like I get the overlap technique, so there is technically like a reason to do it. You're telling 63, hey, I got this. But at a certain point, that guy is in your contact window. He's getting contacted by the right guard. Take advantage of him already being contacted and dictate the block. Don't let him dictate. He's in a tough spot right now, splitting two offensive linemen. Take the fight to him. He doesn't take the fight to him, overlaps, oversets a little bit, and then he goes into the block and his legs are completely straight. There's not a lot of good knee bend. So he's leaning into the contact without a good base at all. His legs are almost, this one's bent a little. This one's maybe 95% straightened, but not a good spot. You want to have a better base here. When he goes to punch, left hand wide, right hand may land into the chest or may try to land into the chest. The problem is if you have a straight punch from his shoulder right here and he's moving away from it, it's not really going to be overly effective. It's almost, if it does land, it's almost pushing him where he wants to go. So defensive lineman controls him, gets hands inside, and then runs him into the quarterback's level. So, and obviously he didn't, he's not the one who caused the fumble here, but not the best play from him, right? Like I want to see him be more forceful into that block and obviously have better technique to actually block him. Schweitzer reach lean center. Yeah. Okay. So gets into his set. I like the fact that his feet are very are running. That's a good thing. But in terms of the punch here again, it's a good job running your feet. But the punch, it needs to be more forceful. You can't bring your hand up and slap down. Now, if you're trying to like contain him and that you're trying to get that hand attached because the left hand is going to be the primary force. Okay, understandable, but still in general, we have bending from the waist, leaning for contact. Again, straight punches are always better than obviously slapping down. His hands don't land in a good spot, seemingly. Why? Because he doesn't have a lot of force behind his punch, because if you're leaning for it, by the time your hands get there, there's not a lot of force behind them. So leading into it, hands don't land in a good spot. Looks like they get wiped or whatever. The right hand actually does land into the chest, which stays there. The left hand refits into the chest, but we have him leaning for that contact, and he doesn't really have a lot of like stopping power into that punch. So the defensive lineman has plenty of momentum as he's driving him back into the quarterback's pocket. Eventually gets his hands on and turns into a straight bull rush on Schweitzer. Schweitzer never really has good hand placement to get underneath that block, and then he runs him right back into Carson Wentz for a pressure or hit, whatever we're calling that. Schweitzer bitched. All right, I'm assuming this is not going to be a good one, so let's watch the center get quote unquote bitched. Yeah. All right. Reason being hand. Right. The feet aren't bad here. The one thing is, I don't know if at the snap of the ball he got sniped in the shoulder, but his shoulder is completely limp right there. His hand is down between his crotch. You can see his hand right there. The reason for this hand being completely immobile, I have absolutely no idea. The only acceptable thing is if he got shot in the shoulder, from a sniper sitting behind the field goal post or something. I don't know what's going on there. Want your hands more on guard. And in terms of the right hand, again, the chest is right there. Take it. Take the chest. It applies for offensive and defensive linemen. If you see an open chest, take an open chest. But we don't want to punch wide, landing into not even the shoulder, over top of the shoulder in the helmet. This is not a good spot to be in. you're high, your hands are in a good spot. I don't know if they're really contacting. The primary contact is probably the elbow onto the shoulder right there. Um, and then he gets driven back because he has absolutely no point of actual contact and is on the ground, gets the hit. It's not an ideal play. So we'll see. And then did we? Oh, I already did Tristan Colon too. So you guys should have watched Tristan Colon, and then obviously you're not going to do. I doubt people are going to do this, but like watch this and Tristan Colon back to back and tell me which one you want on the interior of offensive line. To me, it's Colon, but I don't know. Schweitzer lean to face. Okay, so I'm assuming he's on his face here. Yeah, I like the secondary effort to try to get a hand on somebody, but comes off the ball. Hands have to be elitely quick as a center. You got to be quick. Snap, ball's a little bit off to the right. Ball's a little bit off to the right. But what do we have from Schweitzer? We have him leaning from the waist. We have the left hand scooping from very low. We have the right hand coming from over top. Never lands his hands on the defender before he works into him. And laterally. So now he's forward lean. You have forward lean without good contact. What's going to happen? You're going to fall, or at least trip. Now he's tripping and he steps on the foot of another defensive lineman, which obviously sends him to the turf. But in general, we don't want to see this, even without stepping on the foot. Why? Why does that happen? Hand placement, and you see some lean, and the feet not be super active. They could. They're honestly it is hard to be active sometimes when you're reaching for contact and don't get a contact point because you're just trying to maintain your balance. So that's a slight note, but not something I really pay attention to. So Schweitzer late to see blitz overset. Okay, center. Yeah, got to be aware of other threats here, right? And it's not that he's wrong for initially contacting